be through a couple of pros. Yeah, I saw him building up, and I did move back. I should have moved back a bit earlier. Not gonna say I really should have moved back earlier, but anyhow, this is what it is. Can't change it. I died. Getting stuck. Let's not go over that. Pro later action. Some guys who actually know how to play, not like me. I'm an absolute fucking muppet. Down here though, on the red corner, it is Tex. He's in the Seraphim, opening up with Purse Land, getting some adjacency over there, and his opponent today is Swackle. He always changes his name around from Swackle to Squall and all sorts of things, but never mind, he is in the blue corner. He is UEF, so it's going to be a Seraphim versus UEF matchup. These guys are both well into the pros of combat capability. And this map is a random generator map, so there's no meta to it, no nothing like that. There is 13,000 reclaim for the guys to grab, not a huge amount near their base. You are going to have to move out to get it. Plenty around these extra ridges here, these rock clumps if you like, are all grabbable. Some of these, you might see these aren't actually marked. I think they're actually trees. They might actually be trees and they might actually give you energy rather than mass, but hey, who's counting? It all helps towards. So both these guys are doing a very similar build. We have the first land factory up. We have 1, 2, 3 mass extractors. We have a hydro going up over there. And exactly the same for it takes one factory, 1, 2, 3 mass extractors and into the hydro. The fourth mix is just a wee bit far away of a walk, so that is why there's the 3 factory, 3 mix hydro build. And really that's probably the best idea to do. Get some early, both of them are going 3 gens into air factory, so that's an interesting thing. Yeah, 3 pigeon to air factory, so that's a new type thing. They're both doing exactly the same thing, so I'm going to guess that 3 pigeons is enough to, well, you've got 100 coming out of that hydro over there. You're going to have air coming out, shouldn't be too bad. He's got engineers walking around, they are jumping onto the mixers as fast as possible. Want to get your eco up all the time, every time. So let's just have a look at what kind of power drain does come out of this. So you're looking at minus 58, minus 90. So yep, adjacency from the hydro as well as the extra pigeons will mean that this factory should be able to produce units without too much of a problem. And a first bomber actually planned out from Tex. So that's an interesting decision, especially since it's quite likely that we're going to see, well, Scout, Interceptor, then Bomber from Swackle. So slightly different build order. He's going for the Scout and Inti first. That means the Bomber may not get very much done from Tex, but we'll just have to keep an eye on that. He is going for the early harassment. But speaking of early harassment, this here is a Mech Marine. It's going to run afoul of a Selene. If the Selene can stay at range, the Selene will win. If the Mech Marine gets in range, it will absolutely win that battle. There we go. And that is going to be 1 dead Selene. Mech Marine definitely has the advantage on that, and that is a defending Tham though, so coming up with the extra intercept expectation. And yes, the Mech Marine did get a scout, but now it's run into a tank, and that's never going to work. Tank wins. Right, there we go. We have had a scout overhead from Swackle. The question is, was he paying attention? Did he see the bomber? Well, the interceptor seems to be moving on a intercept course. It is gradually turning, so yes, it has been tagged. Yes, it is being picked up, and no, that bomber's not going to get anything done. So, was a bold strategy? No, not really, it's just strategy. The counter bomber is out from Swackle, and of course there is an interceptor out here from Tex. Has that actually picked up the bomber? Or is it just happening to fly in this direction, where there happens to be a defending interceptor? Well, it is going straight for the bomber. It looks like, yes indeed, but now it's going to hang low and turn around. That's going to give a chance for the bomber to get away, and a chance for this interceptor to be defensive, perhaps, question mark? No, the interceptor kind of swings around and misses a trick. It's actually going to be out of range, maybe? Yes it is. That's going to be this bomber down, but the bomber is going to get a kill, perhaps, unless it shoots wildly and misses by a huge margin. So, bomb for either thing, but ground units coming on up and say goodbye to your radar. They weren't quite spotted, so I'm going to say Tex had well, his attention must have been elsewhere for these units to just romp on up while he had units back here and a radar telling him it was all on the way. It looks like a edge build planned over here. Yes, indeed. So there is Tex's comm just moving over this way. We're going to want to edge build, has to try and get around the reclaim. If he tries to build on that, the comm may just try to walk there instead, and that's not going to work, but he gets his first factory going. He's going to get his lower basin up and running first. He does have a slight incursion issue. He has a pair of strikers with a scout over this way. They're going to run away from the incoming forces there. These guys have moved in the wrong direction. Perhaps they could have come and cut this off. As it is now, this poor engineer is quite vulnerable to this marauding force. Some issues trying to keep a hold of that. More pressure over this way. A couple of strikers, they're just ready to move on in and cause some issues. Radar going up for tech, so he'll see those and maybe think twice about having a go. But there we go. This engineer here is going to have a bad time trying to pop up a point defense, but not going to succeed on that front. The tanks are going to roll on in and clear that out. Defending Thams are on the way, so I don't think we're going to see mass extractors go down. Having said that, they're a pretty bad shot. They are not stopping to kill any mixers, they're just raiding for engineers. I guess that's effective, but here comes a drop, so engineer drop coming out from Tex. He's making a play for this side as well, but at the same time we see an engie droppers coming over from Swackle, and he's going to get his engineers down first and be able to build up. So there's 5 engies from Tex versus the, well, 2 engies plus a tank plus a scout. So that's going to be spotted, and I imagine we're going to see that, there we go, the tank has been dispatched over in that direction to take care of the engineers who, well, they're not going to live too much longer. So they drop down on the ground, that tank is going to show up and they're going to have a terrible time of it unless they can get a good reclaim going on. Onto the tank at a good stage, it's not going to work. The transport loiters around, not a grand idea. Radar goes up first, but too little too late. Here comes the cavalry. Tank does want to keep its distance, of course, so can stay out of range. It's not going to get too much done. The engineers instead get re-pulled onto the transport, and he actually keeps 3 of them alive by that little trick, so not bad. Maybe going to redeploy over this direction, but being chased down by both the scout and the tank, and now there's interceptors coming over, and that transport's about to have itself a poor time. It's going to get caught, it's going to get shot down, there's going to be everything lost, and some reclaim in the corner. However, it has slowed things down a wee bit here. It has forced Swackle to produce some combat units to try and hold. In the meantime, on the other say plateau, and okay, so Texas Com did walk down here, build those factories. Seems to be heading this direction. Actually, that's traversable. You can actually get over that, so he's going to wander back over this way. That's going to be helpful. Band of units coming over this way. There is a bomber overhead. The anti-air has died, so this band of units is not long for this world should it get pushed, which it probably should do, because it's going to take us some mass extractors there, and that's actually pretty good pressure coming in from Swackle. He's got a merry band of units pushing down the middle here, a nice stream of those coming on in. He's fully claimed this section down here, so he's going to have a good time on that. He's up this way raiding onto Texas mass extractors. One of them has died over there, that's going to need to be rebuilt, which the commander can do quite happily. And he's got a decent band of units over here to defend, so I'd say he's a bit ahead at the moment. Map control is just slightly to his advantage, owing to the fact he's got his comm over here holding that side. As I said, this band of units over here, quite a sizable force compared to what Tex has, and he maybe doesn't want to do this. Pushing into a larger force is not the greatest idea, especially when there's backup coming along the way. There are some T1 bombers which could utilized. If they would drop their bombs, that would be a huge assistance. There we go, 1 bomb. Yep. See, it looks like they're just going to get shot down. Didn't even drop their bombs, that's a bit of a bother. Feel sorry for those guys. Didn't get anything done. Okay. But have a look at how things are going otherwise. So back in the base here we have T2 air. So Texas managed to transition to T2, but he's done it via air. His land is still T1 spam just coming on out. We check over on Swackle's side of things. He has gone for T2 land. So he's gone land instead of air, and that is a Sparky. Unless I am mistaken at the type of engineer that's coming out. Lovely Sparkies, they've got a little jamming to make radar signatures, and they've got a little riot gun on there as well. So they actually have a bit of DPS to shoot stuff just to be extra annoying when they're trying to build. So you can't really rush them with labs, but you know, that's alright. They don't really hold up that well against units, but it's still novel, it's still neat. Back this way, these guys have, that was a drop actually, we can see the dead transport down there, dropped into the back of poor old Texas base, and they're taking out 3 mixers. They were all T1, so not the end of the world. Just bomb down, does kill off one of the tanks there, he's got 3 kills to his name, and some reinforcing units are coming in. But that is the end of those mass extractors, and there's not many engineers nearby that are ready to pick it up. Bomber gets shot down by some interceptors coming all the way over the other side of the map. It's yeah, kind of interesting. And targets the wrong tank. There are 2 very injured ones and 1 very healthy one. He targeted the healthy one first, which let it get the shots off and die, and now he has to try and chase these down as they swing about and try to kill off yet another mass extractor. Got some micro going on from Swapple, just keeping those tanks alive a little bit longer, and they will kill off that mass extractor too before finally succumbing to overwhelming forces. So good drop to kill off 4 mass extractors. Engineers now have to be diverted back to pick those up. Over here we have a bit of a fracas at the front. There are more units for Swapple, so Tex doesn't really want to push that terribly much. Just wants to keep his distance a wee bit, and now he has to deal with a T1 bomber where he doesn't have anti-air in the mix, and his interceptors are back over this way, although they are now sweeping on in, and they should be able to kill that bomber, no drama. Bit of napalm coming out, killing off 3 tanks I presume, 1, 2, 3, there we go. So a good catch for that bomber, doing a bit of damage just to thin out the numbers a wee bit and make it just that much harder. Takes to hold that ground. Okay, up here we can see it is Tex with his comm. He's picked up a mass extractor. He could push, but he doesn't really know it. I don't think he's got radar to really know what's going on there. No radar over this side. He's got 1 radar here, which is picking up this massive force and roaching upon his territory. But yeah, he's going to be just go T2. That did just go T2, so he's upgraded there, and now we can see all of this. And he knows all the threat is coming down this channel, and this one's basically empty. So, what's he going to do? Well, he's now got to try and contain this force with a much smaller number of units. So having said that, if these guys all do push together, it's going to be a huge help. There's a few T1 RD up the back here, so that point defense would probably get primary down to nothingness. You can see he's just trying to drag the attention of this group this way a little bit, trying to group up his forces to be able to put out maximum damage. That is T2 at the back though. It's only Flak, but it is T2 making its way to the front, so Flak is going to render any kind of air defense. T1 bombers kind of null and void, as well as gunships popping out some Vulthus, but they're going to have problems flying over Flak. Vulthus are okay, they're not probably the weakest. Some people say they're the weakest T2 gunships. I don't. Tiny wee band of roving units here. Of course, you can see that there's nothing around, so hey, why not? Just have a go and kill everything. What's I'm doing? Clear it out. Have yourself a good time on the left. Check out what's going on here. Still just the T1 air for Swapple. He is making a shift to T3 though. That's 1/3 of the way towards a T3 land factory. And if we check out the other side of things, I'm not seeing. Nope, there's a tech shift, so that is T2 on the way for tech. So he's a wee bit behind there. And I do wonder if he's aware of what he's facing up against. We check techs. Has he scouted any time recently? Well, he kind of has. He knows T2 is there. He's stalling on power pretty hard. Unusual for a ready player. There we go. So these Vulthus have turned up to try and take things out, but they run into quite a sizable number of anti-air. And a transport over here has been caught by some interceptors, goes down with a full payload. So that's revenge for this guy over here. Number of dead units all sitting on the ground. Vulthus are overhead, but they are going to be killed off by a large number of anti-air. These T1 AA have actually done a pretty good job at clearing off the Vulthus, and now in come the interceptors, and that's all she wrote. What's left of those guys? Right up this way we can see Flak in the mix, in fact 2 Flak in the mix there, so they're going to have fun. We have engineers doing reclaim already, we have a TAC launcher, just to be extra annoying, a bloody TAC launcher. So Swapple is going full on raiding annoyance with that, pushed right up the front, and how much can it hit? Well, it can kill off a bunch of stuff. We've got 1, 2, 3 max extractors up there, we've got these ones over here which are all T2, which I imagine you will target first knowing that they're there. Radar doesn't quite cover enough ground to see what's going on. And I would say Tex has zero idea. Well, no, he scouted it. So he knows. He knows there's a tech launcher there. He's been paying attention, and are his... Has he got T2 engineers? I thought I saw some, or is that just T1? No, it's just T1. So he knows there is a tech launcher there. He knows there's T2 coming in on the way, and he's going to need to try and do something about it, lest he lose a bunch of eco to his base. Gun upgrade going on the way for the commander. Why not? Get a bit of gun upgrades. This force ran into a couple of point defense as well, so all the ground units they decide to fall back, which they kind of need to do. And yeah, there's some TMD there. So there's some attack defense there that's going to help protect his main base. All the power that he cannot afford to lose. And he's actually rushing up a T3 factory as well. 80% done on that upgrade. Plenty of assistance. The T3 is done for Swackle, but he's not using it just yet. Looks like he's just grabbing a little bit more power before he goes heavy into that side of things. Right, do we have a launch? No, we don't. We have a missile build-up for the moment, so look like he wants to try and do surprise quotation mark attack missiles. But if we can get another couple of TMD up, that attack launcher will be made redundant. As it is, these mass extractors here are very much exposed. They are not within range of this defense at all. One more TMD here would be ideal. It would just be able to stop anything coming from that. Get when a bomber flies in a very poor location, plenty of flak to have exploded out of the sky. Just maybe wanted to get in the balance of forces, and here we go. Here's the attack missiles being launched, and yes indeed they are clearing the hills, getting through the gaps, and they are going to impact, or at least that one is going to impact upon this. Not great. It's going to hit the mountain or get through. Gonna hit the mountain, so saved by the hill. This one may not be so fortunate. Might skip through the gap, or it may go impact. There we go. So lucky. Two of these mass extractors were saved by the hill, literally, as the impact goes on there. And there we go, T2 now starting to build up at the front for Swackle. However, I did see an Otham somewhere. Here it is. So T3 is out on the field for Tex. We see T3 on the way for Swackle as well. Those are Titans. Titans may not be the right choice when you're facing off against Othams. Pretty sure Othams will turn them into mincemeat. Anyway, a roving Flapjack. I thought maybe it was going to get a little bit too close to that T1 PD. Did take a couple of shots, but the point defense was quite injured, so the missiles killed it off pretty happily. Plenty of reclaim going on here. We see there's some engineers doing engineer things, and as they go, they wander a wee bit too close to some mongoose though, who quite happily barrages them from range, lobs over his egg launcher / mortars and kills off that. T2 PD back here from Texas, just going to help things out a little bit, and he does have a gun comm as well, so with some overcharge he can very much help clean up those forces. And there is an Otham ready to go as soon as stuff comes in range. There we go. That's going to be an extra help as well. Othams to demolish, although shields are annoying. Otham's tough. We have a gun comm with overcharge. We have some T1 bombers flying over here, dropping their payload left here, there and everywhere. T2 PD having to go the T1 PD alongs instead, but overcharges from Tex are very handy to kill off parts of T2. That was 3 pillars with 1 shot, and that is Swackle deciding maybe I can't force this. Maybe I should fall back. We see a sniper bot now for Tex as well, so he's got the T2 PD, he's got the T3 Othams, he's got the sniper bot, and he's got the gun comm all in this area. That's not a great place to be for an army. And he's left behind a lot of mass on the ground as well, and Tex can decide to rebuild some factories, throw out some engineers and grab a whole bunch of reclaim from this direction. Over here we can see some T2 pushing on this point defense. It's going to have a grand old time hiding behind his walls to kill off a pillar or 2. Engineer's going to die though, that's not great for his health, but the point defense is very sturdy and very much shooing these guys away. A couple of Wilkus just tracking around trying to find some targets. Not going to have a great time with this interceptor gang roving on by. T1 bombers saying hello no to these units here. And you can see those tech launchers are doing things, although they're mobile tech launchers. They ain't going to get much done compared to the static one, which still has just the 1 kill to its name. T2 arty though, just to be extra irritating. So you can reach all of this around here, can decide to kill whatever it wants in range. Having a grand old time is that, and what it wants to kill is the commander apparently. Doesn't hit. Okay, we have another drop down this way, and this time it is a bunch of anti-air with a couple of lobos. Well, what you've got to do is just focus off the lobos, and that basically turns this group redundant. There we go. Now it's just mess. Bunch of anti-air, send a few tanks, they'll die. Nothing doing. Right, we have a drop coming over. That is Otham, a few Zuis, and an Elshver. Will it make it onto the ground? If it does, it's going to be able to do huge damage around here because there's only T1 on the available, and landfall. There are a bunch of lobos nearby though, so they do not want to sit still. In fact, there goes the shots. Get a move on. They get a move on, they do. Transport's going to go down, but he won't care about that because these guys are on the ground and they are ready to start cleaning house. Speaking of things ready to start cleaning house, that's a large band of units from Swackle. There is a bunch of Titans, there's some Mongoose, some Pillars. That T2 is still having to go. The attack launcher is now full, still with just this one kill, but this merry band of adventurers, they are more than enough to take on anything down here. There's just some T1 left, and if they move up they can clean everything. Maybe if some air comes in they could have a problem, but don't see that happening in the near future. Right, over this way, some very poor engineers stuck out in the middle of no man's land, no support, no units, and they're going to get romped by all of these. Nothing slowed them down. There's a commander back here, of course, with some gun upgrades, but that is not going to be enough to stop this army, and indeed these forces are moving back. Down here we can see this small drop has had plenty of effect. 3 mass extractors dead already. They were only T1, so Swackle hadn't upgraded them, but they're still enough just to help things take some damage, and they're going to be able to wipe out these factories as well fairly easily. But the blue wave of units is crushing over this section, and that is going to be slightly more difficult to slow down with the units he's got. It does have some, click down to T1 PD, so he does have some units here. I think he's a sniper boss, but doesn't have the radar. He's lost his radar somewhere, and if he could see those, I imagine those would be shooting. Would have been shooting. But down here, there we go, this section is all cleaned up, so the factories are gone, and these units are now free to just wander around and clean up houses. There's a few lobos left lying around, but they're not enough to stop this, and these engineers are soon going to be forfeit. Right, over this way we can see a T1 PD is having a grand old time against a pillar. What it's not having a grand old time against is the T1 artillery and the E2 flapjacks, although that survives by a single shot. TMD over there, just, never mind. I thought maybe we'd keep it alive, but no. Single shell from a lobo comes over, and we still got this sitting around as well. Actually we've got 2 of these now, so 2 T2 over here just being extra. For a slight bit of more irritation. We have another drop coming on over, and again it's an Otham's, single Otham and a bunch of Zuis ready to go somewhere. The question is where, and hello. There's been a double Percy drop, and that will absolutely help out this region. So Percy's will do the job. Ooh, they're dangerous. Transport flew over a couple of, well, one flak. Could have been seen, could have been bad time. It might be able to drop up this way. If it catches there, is Swackle got it observed? Well, no, I don't see him noticing it yet. It's not on radar. Oh, there we go. If he's paying attention, he'll have seen that. And actually, his interceptors are on the move. Those things are going straight for that drop, and that's going to help. If that drop made landfall here, would be great. Could have killed off a bunch of T2 mixers. Unfortunately, there is more than enough interceptors to shoot it down very quickly, and down it goes indeed. A good catch by Swackle there. Unfortunate for Tex, and there's a counter drop coming in. There is a Percy with some couple of lobos. It's going to land on down the back here, and there is a defending Elshver, but the Elshver is going to stand no chance against Percival. And there we go. Landfall. Mech's dead. Elshver takes a single blap from the 2 blaps, and that is 1 dead Elshi. Transport is going to be taken down, but what's left of these is not much. That is a chicken. Literally just started as we see it. So Chicken going up for Tex, that might be a bit of a Hail Mary. He's got this massive force to deal with. He doesn't have much to hold it back. If these guys get rushed, they're going to have a bad time. They need to think about falling back right now. Sniper bots are great for damage at distance, but not so good close up. They really want to consider falling back to this section here, just to not get caught out as soon as they're spotted. Just like that. Just like that. Fortunately, it's just a T1 AA that gets killed, but this is a problem. Lobos and Percival moving up this way, they're going to find themselves not much in the way of resistance. There's Ilchiva trying to be good and some T1 artillery over here. Ilchi's going to take out the Lobos, which is ideal for now. T1 bombers are coming out as well, and they're going to need to be the thing that stops the Percival. And something needs to stop that Lobo. There we go. Came from somewhere. T1 AA. Oh, T1 tactical scopes. And hello. Going straight for the power. Why not? Nothing much else to go for, but standing still under artillery fire is never a great idea. Percival needs to keep moving, otherwise it is going to be turned into scrap pretty darn quickly. Look, the health just go away. Standing still is a poor idea. What is it focusing on now though? Trying to kill... I don't know. It's just sort of standing around. There we go. Trying to hit the T3 mass extractor. It's not going to get it though. Down to plenty of anti-air, but that is a strat bomber. No! That is going to be a lot of dead engineers in a second. Boom! How many is that? 26. 26 engineers clumped so close together, victims of that strat over there. That is very unhelpful, and now the army is moving in from Swackle, so the blue tide is pushing over straight towards the base. Really desperately trying to get a photo up. All those eggs are in that basket, literally. And these guys were pushing up to try and intercept, but they have been caught out. There's going to be some sniper bots who are going to have a terrible time. T1 bombers are swinging on over to try and stem things, but as soon as that shield goes, and we do say hello, fuck the ground, because T2PD is shooting the ground. We all love the ground, except for these guys, and that is just unfortunate placement. I feel like they're trying to shoot the closest units, which are behind the hill, and that's these guys all under a huge amount of pressure. I see spearheads. You know the missile pattern. Absolutely spearheads now, coming into range of all of this, and they should start shredding these units. These Othams have managed to fall back here. T1 PD and plenty of it are going to just dish out the DPS. Shields do drop though, and that means these guys are going to start taking a lot of damage. T1 bombers overhead, we see Percival's pushing on in. T2 PD still alive, T1 PD doing damage, and still some Othams back here with a sniper bot or to assist, and that is going to be the end of that. Although, however, the spearheads back over this way is going to turn around and cause wreckage unless it gets picked up by this band of units moving on in. Another couple of Othams, and there is a sniper bot or two. We'd have a go at the spearhead and get rid of that. So that was a hold, and the chicken is done, and the chicken is walking. And the chicken is not coming over this way to take on this force. It is instead going up the left. And maybe he's going to try and walk straight into Swackle's base with that. So it is chicken versus army, although separate. That makes sense. Kind of does, kind of doesn't. But this group needs to regroup basically, and maybe just move a bit out of range from what is going up here, which is a couple of triads, a couple of T2 artillery. What kind of range do those things have? Yep, there we go. They can basically kill off all of this. So, as unfortunate distancing. What's that shooting at? Is that the tank? That's the tank launcher. So, tank launcher's having another go. This time, there is TMD, but this way. Question is, will it be enough to stop that from coming on in? No, it's not. Oh no. Oh no, say goodbye to your T3 Pigeon. It's going to explode and take a whole... maybe not that much with it. It does kill off the T3 engineer that was starting to build a... shield, but really an extra point of attack defense would have been great to slow that down, and that is definitely... Yep, that has put Tex into the red as far as power goes, and that is a bit of a problem. Now he has a army pushing in up the top here, not a lot he can do about it. He has to respond by moving these forces through this choke point, but in the base itself there is not much. TMD going up a little bit too late, but oh dear. Where's that chicken? It's up here. It is on the way. It has plenty of anti-air with it. It's all T1, T2 and T1, so maybe plenty is the slightly wrong word, but it can move on in and take care of plenty of units over that way. In the meantime, this. And this is mostly T1 and T2 mix with a few T3 units sprinkled on in, and they are just going to roll straight into Tex's base, and he has to fight with the units he's got, which is these just here. Maybe spam up some point defense. There we go. T1 is coming on the way. His commander is in the region, can get some overcharges in perhaps. Although having said that, I'm pretty sure he's stalling on power. No, he's not. Not stalling on power because he finished off this T3 reactor there, and if he can get his commander to do some good overcharge work, particularly on the T3 units, that would be absolutely grand. There are some T1 PD there, T2 going up down this way, but there's a lot of damage about to be done to his base. Let's have a quick check up this way. How is the Thota doing? It's doing it right, maybe going the wrong way. Looks like he was going straight up this way before turning on in, maybe wanting to go through the gap and get units all clumped together, but if he does that, his anti-air is going to be caught out behind it, and that's not going to be good. Although having said that, some beautiful shots there by the face wall. The arm laser wants to turn around though, because his anti-air is all that's keeping it alive from these broadswords, and that is a lot of broadswords. And in fact, they are going to come rocking on in now-ish, are they? Yes, they are, and we're going to see that Thota has some issues. So, army in the middle of Tech's base, his commander's there at range trying to do some overcharge pickups on all those guys. Up this way, in the meantime, his Thota is having broadsword issues, and the health is just dropping off that rapidly. There's only a few T1 anti-air left, so they're going to take forever and half a day to get through to the broadswords, and that Thota is not going to make it far enough to do enough damage. And look, a fat boy. Tech throws out the GG, his base is in tatters, as Thota is not going to make it in. And that is the game taken by Swackle. So, good play by Swackle.